Hi everyone, welcome to my first video ever. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how I do my makeup for hooded lids and uneven eye shapes. I don't know whether you can see my eyes are pretty uneven and one eye is more hooded than the other. So I've tried a lot of the times to follow the instructions that I've seen on different YouTube channels and so on, but I've noticed that a lot of the times it just doesn't work for me, you know, especially the sweeping business. My skin is so crepey, don't know whether you can see it, so when I try to swish over it, it just makes a real mess out of it. So I just wanted to show you, for anybody that has the same issue as I, how I do it, and I found it works quite well and makes me look much more alert and awake. So okay, without further ado, let's start. I better move my hair out of my face. Okay, so okay, so the first thing I do, definitely one trick that I picked up is that I'm using a primer, because without the primer it just doesn't last. So I literally just put it on here. I'll tell you what I use as well, because everybody seems to do that. And I think there's some kind of link you can add things to it. I'll see if I can work this out. But I share that on here anyway. So I just put the primer quite generously over my lid. There we go. And the one that I'm using is this primer from Kiko, so you can see it better this way. There we go. And once I've put the primer on, I put a light shade all over my lid. Again, this is also Kiko Milan, and there's the number that I'm using. I've tried to put it on with a brush, but I just find I get more of a more definite color if I put it on with my fingers. So I'm just going to put it on my lid. So this one is the better shaped eye. It's not quite as hoodie. To the other side. I tried to get good light for this, but because, you know, I'm not a pro at this, is my first one, I just really want to share this with people who suffer from the same issues, because quite often I see people on YouTube that don't actually have hooded eyes and pretty much perfect eyelids that you can nicely swoop along with. And then what I've noticed is a good idea to do is, if you like dip, like brush like this, and just put a little bit more of that eyeshadow there. I mean, I don't find it gives me any color at all, but it just has like a powdering effect. It seems to make things a little bit easier. So then I'll share the link. Most of these are Amazon brushes, so I'll share the link of which one I use, but I found I can't do the sweeping, it just doesn't work. I'm gonna have to do more patting, so I needed to look for like brushes that would allow me to do that. So I hope you could see that okay. So I take this color, which is like slightly darker than the one I used earlier, also Kiko Milan. Oh, I don't know, the windows at the back, but there you go, you can see. And then what I do with this is I literally pat my brush in, tap it off there, and I keep my eyes open, and then just sort of pat along here. So this is my first shade. Again, pat, and you can see I don't sweep because it just doesn't work. Okay, so, and you can see, you know, now you can actually see the big difference between the right eye. That's much better than the left eye. The left eye is really like droopy and a completely different shape. It really bugs me. So okay, then I've got this little brush also from that set in from Amazon. So it's quite thin, quite stiff, so it allows me to draw. So I've got this darker color here, also Kiko Milan. I bought these on holiday when I was bored and had nothing better to do. So what I tend to do is, oh, it's quite tricky to do this without a mirror, so let's see if I can do this and you can see. So literally I just keep my eyes open, you know how I would normally do, and there you can see the skin fold going over already. I think you should be able to see that, yeah. So what I do is I literally pat the line that I want, and you can see again I'm not sweeping, because if I sweep that, you know, the skin is so crepey, it just goes everywhere. You can see already, just I put that line on, you can see it there. It looks really high up, but that's because my eye has fallen so much. And now already, you know, the shape of this eye is much more similar to the one on the right. So let's do that again, tap it off, and do this one as well, just to make sure we've got them even. Okay, so can you see my eyes are pretty much more the same shape than before. So just make sure add this up. Okay, there we are. And now we have pretty much similar eye shapes. You know what I tend to do is I do like to look at my phone, because that, you know, I just assume that's how people see me, rather than being really close to the mirror. I just carry on tapping it, and there we go. So that's that. So now you can probably see, I don't know whether you can see that here, so the skin is actually drooping on top of my eyelash there, on this eye, but not on this eye. Maybe I keep my eyes looking straight, you can see that better. Okay, but nevertheless, you know, it already looks like I've got much more the same eye shape. So then what I tend to do is I take a different brush. This is also from Amazon, but just the same as the one that I was using earlier, but you know, slightly smaller and denser. So I use that, tip it back into my darker shade, plop it off, you know, sort of brush it off, and then I just go underneath there and pat underneath the line that I've created. Then you can see, so this takes a bit of time. Okay, just to make sure I can send that dark line back, and you can see it's just sort of, can you see, still see the fold sticking out there? So what I tend to do is that fold, I just sort of keep an eye on it, and I pat the dark color onto it, because I have noticed it definitely sends it back. And there we are. So it now looks like it's sort of pretty much gone. What you can do is, if you find it's not done a good enough job, I go back in with a dark color in my little original brush, and I just literally pat on that overhanging line. There we go. Okay, and then you need to want to make sure you're actually matching on the other side. So really you have to do the same here. So sometimes it takes a bit of time, because depending, some mornings when I wake up, you know, one eye is completely a different shape than the other, a different shade. Okay, so there you are. But still you can see there's a lot more white or lid space here, while it's kind of hidden on this side. So, you know, I have not found a better solution than trying to match this up. So I just add some of the darker color on here as well, sort of try to blend it a little bit. And then you can see if I close my eyes now, they look pretty much the same. Again, if you find it's not there, just tap it up. Okay. Then sometimes what I go in, there is a, where's my other brush gone? Oh, there it is. I broke it. So I have to find it at the bottom of my pouch. You know, then if you want to, you know, if you find yourself, you might be found with your eyelids down open, you can just blend this out a little bit. Same here. Just blend it. And then it matches. But if you remember how I looked earlier and how I look now, you know, my eyes are much more even, and I find I look a lot more awake. Now this is what it looks like when I open my eyes. So I mean, lots of people start blending now, but for me it doesn't kind of work, because I find once I start blending the color out, you know, it kind of then takes away the definition that I really need to have my eyes looking open. I've tried, but it's just not having any of it. You know, what you could do is you could take that middle shade, I guess, tap a bit, and then, you know, sort of go a bit above it, just to create a little bit of a line, and maybe smudge it ever so slightly. But for me, you know, like I prefer it when it's more defined. Okay. Last but not least, well, there's two more steps. What have I done with my eyeliner? Ah, here it is, look. So this is the eyeliner I also got from Amazon. So I don't know if you can see that. There we go. It's like a dark brown, and I just thought I'll try out the brown instead of black to make it less harsh. And I picked this one because it had really good reviews for being very waterproof and having a lot of staying power, because you know, my skin gets very oily, and then things move around, and I really hate that throughout the day when, you know, I start off in the morning and I look like I want to look, and then halfway through the day it just looks rubbish again. So I don't really like it. So it comes with a little brush, which is quite handy. So I like to tight line, so I just put them, you know, very gently as close to the lashes as possible, just to get a little bit more definition. And now you can see I've sort of touched my eyelid, and it's already like really crazily creeping up. So let's not touch it. Just put the line on. There we go. Don't know whether you can see that. I mean, I think it's, you know, there's a lot of dark color on there, but I still feel it looks pretty natural. Okay, we do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Sorry, I always have to go and check that it's still how I want it. Now I kind of feel, looking at this eye is still looking a little bit more droopy. So I'm going back with my little brush and the dark shade, and I'm just going to like top it up a little bit up here and on that horrible line that I dislike. Okay. Maybe a tiny bit more. Sorry, I forever have to play with this because my eyes are uneven, so I can't really, you know, have the same amount on each eye. It just sort of needs to change. Yep, I think that's pretty even. Okay, and then I just literally put on my mascara. Sometimes I do falsies, but for this I just do the mascara. So it's a what is it? I think it's a L'Oreal Telescopic. Again, that's quite waterproof, so I quite like it. Just put it on. Sorry if it's not particularly clear, but I'm only doing this on my phone. I don't have any special equipment to do this with. And just follow up on this one. Now sometimes what I do is at the bottom I draw some eyelashes with a very thin brush, but the video's already major long, so I don't want to make this any longer. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of concealer to brighten up the bottom of my eye. Again, this is one of those little brushes that came with the set from Amazon, so I just find it easier if I just not put too much concealer on, because you know, all the skin, all the faces look a bit funny. And I top it in. There we go. Sometimes I really quite like you know, looking on the phone to do my makeup, because I don't know, it seems to take the shadows out or pick them up a lot better, so you can work on things a bit better. You know, of course this eye has to be more buggy than this, but hey ho, what can we do? That's the best I could do. And then lastly, the other thing I take issue is the shape of my nose. I just think it's really wide. So what I tend to do is, that took me forever to work out as well, but I kept trying to do the sculpting, but it never really worked. Looked weird. I couldn't find anything that was the right color or stuck. I always found things too orange. So I haven't got any other makeup on, so I'm just powdering up my nose, and I'm using this Bourjois. And this is the contouring powder I found on Amazon. It comes with a lovely little brush. There it is. I just tap it in, tap some of the excess off, and then I'll just draw, and you can see. Again, I like to look in the, you know, I do it on the mirror, but then I double check on the phone, because I don't know, I think the phone just seems to show me more when because my nose is not actually symmetrical either, so do a bit more there, get the shape right. So I tend to do a little bit on the brush, and then if I don't find it's enough, I just top it up, because you know, When I tried to do this before, it just ends up being too dark and it's too obvious, and I'm not a fan of the obvious one. Nearly there, so a bit milder shape. And you can see already I'm becoming a much nicer nose. There we go, a bit there. And voila, there we are. I feel much fresher and much younger looking and much prettier now than I did before. Take my thingy off and I'm ready to rock and roll. I hope you found that a bit useful. If you need any help at all, or can tell me how to get rid of this, then let me know. I have tried to use the same contouring powder to try and get rid of jowls, I think, but I'm not sure it's working. I'll try it. No, I don't see much good at doing that, so clearly I don't have the trick for that yet, but if I find it, I'll share it here as well. Okay, have a lovely day, all. Bye bye.